So, my name is Gregory Monakhov and I am Senior Technical Support Engineer in the AnyLogic company, and over the next 45 minutes we will walk you through our cloud-based execution environment we call AnyLogic Cloud and show how it can be used in the simulation model lifecycle. Then we will have a short 15 minutes for Q&A session. Okay, well, let's start with the term simulation model lifecycle and what we understand as a model lifecycle. So it consists of two linked parts, development and usage. In the development stage, you construct a model from concept and coding to validation. Once you have a minimum viable product, one that can be used, you can design experiments, graphical interface, dashboards, integrate the model with other apps like data visualization software, and so on. There is more or less strict border between model execution or model usage and the model development. Previously, we could say that only model execution was in the cloud, but with AnyLogic 9, we can truly say that the model development is moving to the cloud environment. AnyLogic 9 was announced and demonstrated on WinterSim 2020, the end of previous year, and we hope to release the first public version in September and demonstrate it at AnyLogic Conference 2021. Now let's speak about our product family, and we'll start from our software as a service solution. Mostly we simply call it AnyLogic Cloud. It is a free portal of AnyLogic models. Anyone in the world can run models as easily as YouTube video from any device with a web browser at no charge. The portal hosts more than 7,000 user models that have a combined total of over 40,000 experiments and more than 10 million unique runs. AnyLogic Private Cloud is a group of products for on-premise usage. They do not require the connection to the external web, and clients have complete control over the cloud data and internal connections. In addition, the products provide tools for custom branding and the hosting of custom web interfaces. With the custom branding features, the cloud can be turned into your private cloud. The Enterprise edition of AnyLogic Cloud allows for an unlimited number of execution nodes in your cluster, providing effective computational resource utilization, load balancing, and redundancy. Cloud Lite and Cloud Pro, on the other hand, is for just one powerful execution node. It can be easily installed by any user just in one click. Okay, I suppose the cloud is more interesting to see rather than hear. So let's go to web browser and play with our product. We will check the most common cloud features, such as running the models and collecting outputs using our software as a service solution you see right now at your screens. Here's the main page of the portal. Models are uploaded by various users worldwide. They're clickable and runnable. You can search them, you can sort them. There are tags, categories, so you're free to do here almost anything. Let's run some example model, for instance, distribution center model. So here is an example model of an average size distribution center which simulates a common DC processes like loading, unloading, pallet tracks, forklifts, and so on. I will run the model with animation just like a YouTube video. After I press click button, the respective command is sent on the cloud servers and they start executing the model logic and send the model data on my device. And the model animation is rendered on my device considering the data that the cloud service sent on my device. The model is completely interactive. I can navigate through the 3D animation and switch between different tabs in order to observe the model 2D animation, to see the model statistics, to observe state of orders in the distribution center, and finally to check the loading, unloading processes and flowcharts, the model logic itself. So let's accumulate some statistics to show how the model can be changed interactively. So I'll accumulate some statistics and run the model at higher speed. As you can see, utilization of forklifts is rather high, and I want to reduce it. How I can do it? Maybe the number of forklifts is not sufficient. So I'll restore the usual execution speed and going back to the first page where I have controls for changing the number of forklifts and other distribution center characteristics. For now, I have 30 forklifts, but I can easily change this number to 44. As you can see, new forklifts appear here on the right side in the forklift zone, and they start their operations. Now I should go back at statistics tab. I can see that utilization is instantly dropped because new forklifts has 0 utilization. This is expected. And I need some time for accumulating statistics for these new forklifts. I expect that the utilization will be lower now because we have more forklifts. And my expectations are satisfied. The utilization is not going to 100%. That's good. Okay. Of course, the cloud has many more other features. For instance, if you want to get results as fast as possible without observing and playing with the model animation, you can run various experiments from the experiments dashboard here. As you can see, we have a convenient dashboard for each experiment. We can set up the experiment inputs and observe the experiment outputs. The cloud remembers all the data of already executed experiments and matches the output data with the input data. So someone already executed the experiment with such data. So I see the respective dashboard without pressing run button. This is very convenient when you work over the model collaboratively. If I change some parameter to other set of inputs which was already executed, then the cloud will show me the results as well. In case if such set of inputs was not executed, then the cloud will ask me to run the experiment in order to show outputs, and after I execute the model, the cloud will show me results here at my dashboard in the output section. Okay, that's great, but how the model gets into the cloud? Let's upload a model to the cloud and observe other cool cloud feature using the model we uploaded. So I'm going to AnyLogic development environment here, and I will use a simple useful example model, consumer credit model. This is simulation of the process of coordination and approval of consumer credit in a bank. Clients can arrange credit at the office or submit an online application on the website or through internet banking. Verification of the applications takes place in 3 stages: scoring, personal review, and credit rating inspection. To export the model to the cloud, firstly, I need to configure its inputs and outputs. This will be interface for final model users. I can do it using the run configuration object here. On the left side, I have a list of potential inputs and outputs of my model, and on the right side, I have actual inputs and outputs. As you can see, I have empty list of inputs and outputs, and the result, if I export the model to the cloud, I'll have empty dashboards. That's not good for final users because they want to change the number of bank clerks and observe various statistics. Otherwise, the model is not useful at all. So I will specify some inputs for my model. I want all my parameters to be the model inputs. It is number of clerks, security specialists, number of analysts, arrival ratio, and so on. Also, I want to have some meaningful statistics. It will be mean time in system, proportion of application results, time in system for all applications, and utilization of my resources. Here we have specified them as outputs, but I have some non-meaningful labels for them. For instance, I don't have time measure for mean time in system, what is minutes, hours, or something else. I know that it's hours, so I'll specify it here. So here I have just result, and I will write application results. Histogram is distribution of time in system. And this is my resources utilization. So utilization. Okay, great. Now the model is ready to be exported to AnyLogic Cloud, and I can press the button here on the right side in the properties of the object. I have unsaved changes since the run configuration object has been changed. I click yes. The model is saved and exported to the cloud. Of course, to export the model to the cloud, I log in. The accounts are free and you may create them in the cloud or use your Google account. So I fill my email and password, press login. And after checking my credentials, the cloud should suggest me to create a new model, suggest to choose the model name, choose the model icon. It will be shown on the model tiles. I like this one. And also optionally, I can include model sources. I want to include model sources here because I want to share them with my colleagues, but I do not want to make my model to be public. What does it mean? Models are indexed by search engines, so you can find AnyLogic models in AnyLogic Cloud through Googling them or through searching them in AnyLogic Cloud itself. If I disable this option, the model will be not visible at all. It will be not possible to find it without knowing its link and having access to the model. We will speak about it a little bit later. I disable it because the model is only for my colleagues, not for everyone. Okay, great. I can press next button. Here are my model sources. And I press finish and AnyLogic is doing his job. Model sources are uploaded, model binaries are uploaded, and new tab in my Chrome is opened. Since the model is private, not public, I need to log in order to get access to the model. So I specify here my login and password. Oops, sorry. And here is my model. As usual, I may run the model with animation, but let's speak more about statistics and experiments dashboard. So Cloud automatically creates simple experiments with default inputs and without outputs because the model has been never executed. So let's run the model and collect some statistics here. We see that mean time in system for positive result is 6 hours. Well, that's a lot of time. Most of applications are failed, some of them are successful, and some of them, namely one, is abandoned due to too long waiting time. 6 hours on average, that's a lot of time. I understand this person. And here's the time distribution. As you can see, this application, it has to wait more than 1,000 minutes, and very likely the application abandoned the process due to this timeout. And here's my resources utilization. It's not too large, and maybe I should improve my processes in order to reduce the time in system and increase resources utilization. However, there is one important point that this simulation model is stochastic, because time spent by clerk on client depends on various factors. It can be 5 minutes on one client and 1 hour for another client. So there is a lot of stochastics, and these outputs, they are not representable. I need to run the model many times with the same inputs in order to get some representable statistics. Such kind of experiment is known as Monte Carlo experiment. So here, by pressing new experiment button, I can create such Monte Carlo experiment. Default experiment type is simple simulation, so I need to find the respective experiment type, Monte Carlo first order, and I will name it Monte Carlo. And here is the interface dashboard for my Monte Carlo experiment. It has precisely the same inputs, and that's totally fine because I want to check internal stochastics of my model, so I do not change the inputs. And also the experiments provides me number of replications or number of embedded runs. Monte Carlo is a multi-run experiment, and this is number of embedded runs. And I can specify greater number because 3 is too small number. Let's specify 10. And then I ready to press run button. The cloud automatically parallelizes the Monte Carlo experiments and execute on the free nodes all the replications of my experiment. and generates the statistics of the experiment. As you can see, it differs. The chart types differ from the simple experiment type. So previously we have some scalar values and one histogram, and now everything is histogram. So all my scalar outputs like mean time and system and application results, they are automatically aggregated into histograms. And I can see that mean time and system varies from 5 to 9 hours. That's a lot of variation. And in the same way, the number of abandoned applications, successful applications, failed applications significantly vary. For instance, failed applications vary from 63 to 85. And here is time and system distributions. They are visualized with a box plot. The cloud allows you to adjust the dashboard. For this purpose, you need to press Edit Dashboard button, and you may choose the required representation of your inputs and charts. So for instance, if you do not like histograms, you want to get box plot, for instance, to observe percentiles, you may adjust the chart type here in Dashboard Editor and then press Save Dashboard button. And we have now such a cool box plot instead of histogram, and if I hover the box plot, I will see the percentiles, median, mean, and max value. That's very convenient. And finally, of course, you want to post-process these statistics, for instance, visualize it and show to management. For this purpose, the cloud provides a special button, Download Results. You may download all runs results in form of JSON file and then forward it, for instance, to Power BI or other modern tool for data visualization, or simply download the results as an Excel file. Cloud generates such Excel file and downloads it. Let's open the file. And here is information about the model, input values, output values. Since all the data is not scalar, each sheet stores the respective values for each chart type. Okay, that's good. And now we can continue and speak about advanced cloud features. Let's speak about API, the programmatic access to the cloud. Before we proceed to API, let's take a look on the slide about API and discuss how it is organized. So basically, AnyLogic model is a pure Java application. And you can export it as standalone Java application or export it to the cloud. In case if it is exported to the cloud, the model obtains informational level about some user data, which user uploaded the model, what is the model version, what is the model data and results, and so on. So the cloud automatically generates the respective metadata for each uploaded model. On top of this informational level, there is RESTful API and web server required for interacting with the models. So one user can run only their models, guests can run only public models, etc., etc. This stuff is managed here. And finally, on top of web server and RESTful API, everything works visible for user. Our website works on top of web server, and you can run the models thanks to the web server. And also RESTful API provides you an option to run the models through other programming languages. For instance, you can use JavaScript for running models with animation in your custom web applications. This is very useful in case if you want to create a cool, modern-looking application with custom branding for your client. Also, there is Java API, which executes the model without animation. Usually, it is required for connecting the models to your enterprise system. For instance, it is ERP system, databases, business intelligence software, and so on. Mostly, it is written in Java, so here is our Java API for this purpose. And finally, there is Python API, which is useful for data scientists who don't know Java and want to work with the model data using their preferred language, Python. And also most AI and reinforcement learning libraries are written in Python, and it is more convenient to use Python than Java for connecting models to such learning agents. For this purpose, Python API is designed. And of course, the RESTful API is documented and open, so you can write your own client for the AnyLogic Cloud using a language you prefer. Of course, the border between all these languages are virtual. You may use any language for almost any purpose. It's a question of your style and of what language you like. Okay, let's now have a look on the practical example on how Cloud API can be used. So I'll demonstrate a JavaScript API example. Imagine you are owner of a small manufacturing facility, and you asked AnyLogic model developer to create not only the model, but also a convenient and useful web interface for the model, which can be run by your employees so they can set up the facility parameters and work with the model without knowing that it is a complex AnyLogic model and so on. So here is an example of such web application. I press Start button, and here is the convenient interface for controlling my facility. So you can see there are storing zones and manufacturing zones. Storing zones are fixed, and here on hover I just see some statistics and helpful information regarding how much cells there are here, number of levels, and so on. Red zones, they are controllable, so I can change settings of this zone. It is conveyor speed, let's change it from 1 to 2, capacity, cycle time, and I can adjust different zones respectively here using this convenient interface. Once I done the configuration, I can press next button and set up characteristics of automatically guided vehicles used in my facility. So let's change it to some carry B dolly AGV type and increase its speed to a maximum 1 meter per second. Okay, great. And now the interface suggests me to run the model with animation or run the parameter variation experiment. Let's run the model with animation and see how JavaScript API is applied here. So in this gray window, I will see the model animation after I press run button. Most importantly is that the run button is located outside of my model animation. So this is completely custom run button. If I press it, it will send the command to AnyLogic servers through JavaScript API. The model will be launched and its animation is embedded here. I can control the model execution speed and other model characteristics through the external controls, and thanks to this feature I can design completely custom experiments. Completely custom web interfaces, of course. I can switch between different views like 2D and 3D, observe the model logic, and of course I can change the model parameters on the fly. So for instance, I can increase fleet size without stopping the model. So the 2 extra AGVs are added on the fly. And of course, I can connect the model to the chart types which are not present out of the box in the cloud dashboards. So here, this is custom plotly chart type, which combines box plot and histogram. Let's run the model on the greater speed in order to generate some statistics, and now it is visualized here. That's how you can create custom web interfaces using JavaScript API, and in this way you can also create not only web applications but also other types of applications using, for instance, other programming languages. If you want to develop an iOS or Android application, that's also possible through Cloud API. Okay, I'll finish this part around with animation and proceed to parameter variation experiment. It's also possible to run it through API. Here I have more complicated interface, a table of parameters variation. I can vary a number of assembly line automatically guided vehicles, let's say from 1 to 5, and I can vary their speed from ½ meter per second to 2 meters per second with step, let's say, ½ meter per second. So there is a bunch of runs. It will be multi-run experiment with the respective fleet size values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and with the respective speed values of my automatically guided vehicles. I'm ready to press run button. And since I already demonstrated this example, the cloud already remembers the results and instantly prints them here without running the model with this set of parameters. It is a 3D chart which is also missing out of the box, but you can add it to the model thanks to Cloud API, and this is very helpful for understanding patterns. Here we have a very simple patterns. More AGVs, faster AGVs is better utilization, means lower utilization. So when I have just one AGV with speed equal to 2 meters per second, I have high utilization rate. When I have a lot of AGVs with the max speed, I have low utilization rate. And the 3D surface visualizes this pattern as expected. Of course, the results of multi-run experiments are more complicated than results of single-run experiment, and this application also allows me to download results of my multi-run experiment. So it will be a set of inputs and outputs for the respective model iteration in a comma-separated values file, speed, size, and utilization. So in total, there are 21 replication in my parameter variation experiment. Okay, that's great. And the last word about Cloud API is that it is well documented, and you can observe the documentation on this page. There are a lot of examples for each use case: run with animation, run without animation, distributed simulation, embedded simulation, and so on. Every experiment type, every client is documented here. And lastly, that you can embed your models into your websites and blogs without using API clients. It is as simple as embedding YouTube videos. You just need to click Embed button on the model tile here, and you will see the following HTML text. You need to paste it into your HTML page, and the model animation will be embedded in your website. Okay, that's great, and let's go back to slides and discuss the cloud advantages in comparison with the old ways of running AnyLogic and other simulation models in general. Okay, so here is a slide with all the advantages, and we will discuss every of them on separate slides. So firstly, it is very convenient for operational usage. Secondly, it is much simpler to deliver the model to the client. You just send the link. It is as simple as sending YouTube video. Thirdly, if you have a model with multi-user access, you know this headache when you need to send a model for each user, or you need to organize kind of web server with access and user management. That's a lot of pain, and cloud solves it easily without any efforts from user side. Also, there is a high performance instances in the AnyLogic Cloud, and of course you can use the same high performance instances for your private cloud, and they are mostly more powerful than desktop computers where models are executed faster. The cloud simplifies how you train your AI agents and connect your models with AI libraries. Cloud simplifies how you can build distributed simulations. And finally, the cloud allows you to create your own software as a service solution and opens next level capabilities for delivering highly customized solutions to your clients. Okay, let's discuss some practical example. Imagine we have a model which is used operationally, like scheduling model, and some employee, your colleague, runs the model every working day in order to understand if the production plan is feasible for today, or is it should be adjusted. So how you deliver the model to your colleague using old ways? You can install AnyLogic on his laptop or give him your laptop. That's not convenient at all. You may export the model as standalone application, and it is much more convenient, but in this case you need to think about what device does your colleague use. Because if he uses iPad or other tablet, he will not be able to run the model. Secondly, you need to know, is Java installed on the computer of your colleague or not? You may have to interact with your system administrator. You should ask him to install the Java. And that's also another headache. When you work with the cloud, you just press export button, check it works in the cloud, and then you send a link to the model, from the model to your colleague. That's very simple, and it completely next level way of delivering models. Now imagine we have the same model, but it is sent not to your colleague, but to external client. You're a consultant, you develop the model, you want to send it to your client. There are also not a lot of possible ways. You may ask your client to purchase AnyLogic in order to run the model, but it doesn't make sense in case if client doesn't plan to develop the models. Also, it's extra costs, and of course you want to deliver your solutions cheaper. And cloud is also a solution here. You may use a public cloud with subscription for this purpose, or in case if the client cares about his data, it doesn't want to upload the data on our servers, you may install private cloud on his infrastructure on premise, and in this case, the client has complete control over the data. Model delivery is also as simple as in previous example, but instead of uploading the model to public cloud, you upload it to private cloud. Okay. Now let's speak about the case when there are several users. For instance, this scheduling model used every day, it works with some files. The result of the model is Excel file. And there are several users who run the model, and each of them generates his own Excel file. So in case if several users run the model simultaneously, they may get conflict because they may write to the same file at the same time, and there will be the data from different runs without any sense. And you have to deal with it somehow. You may set up different workstation, you may set up a single server with user management. That's a lot of headache, and as model developer, you don't want to do it. That's a job for system administrators and DevOps engineers. With the cloud, you don't have to do it. All you need is to upload the model, set up model sharing, and that's all. That's very simple. Case 4, it's heavy experiments. I know very cool stories about model developers who were working over parameter variation and optimization experiments, and they took hours, days, and sometimes weeks, and they had to put their laptops into fridges in order to wait for completion of the experiment. That's not convenient at all. Even if you run an experiment which takes 1 hour, it may occupy 100% of your CPU, and you will not be able to develop other models to continue developing your models. Even you will not be able to watch a video or to chat in WhatsApp just because your CPU is executing AnyLogic model. The cloud solves this problem. You just export the model to the cloud, press run button there. You can run any number of experiments. You can run several experiments at a time. And your laptop, your computer is not occupied here. You can continue developing your models. You can do whatever you want. The cloud is executing the models. Okay, case 5 is about how you train your AI agents. This topic is trending, and more companies start training their AI agents for optimizing their processes. And AnyLogic naturally was a very good solution because of its Java nature. Since AnyLogic models are pure Java applications, you can easily connect it with external libraries using Java. Here, the cloud brings more convenience thanks to other clients, namely Python and JavaScript APIs. In case if you want to connect them using using exported as standalone application model, you'll have to add a bridge between Java and Python, between Java and JavaScript, And here you don't need to do it. You can use the language without extra bridges between different languages. You even don't think about what language is the AnyLogic model language. Very convenient. Okay, case 6. Distributed simulations are kind of hardcore simulation, but sometimes it is useful. What is the case? The output of one model is input for another model. So you have a sequence of experiments over different models you need to execute. Some of them can be parallelized, some of them cannot be parallelized, but you have to develop such experiments chain. And in classic way, you have to be a hardcore backend developer because you need to synchronize them, you need to develop callbacks, you need to think about how they perform data exchange, and so on. That's a lot of backend work, and you as model developers, you don't want to become a Java backend developer. With the cloud, things are much simpler. You think only in terms of cloud API and the language you prefer. There is a special callbacks for data exchange, for triggering next experiments. One experiment can wait for execution of other experiments and only then proceed to execution. So that's very convenient when we speak about distributed simulations. All backend work is done by the cloud. You just need to specify what sequence and what inputs, outputs you need for each experiment in this chain. And finally, case 7, create your own software as a service solution or highly customized applications. Previously, you have to work with Java, and as you may know, Java is not widely used for designing interfaces. It is very heavy, it's not convenient at all, and it is, Java Swing is dying, JavaFX is used, but still it doesn't get popular. And mostly people use web and other languages for developing graphical interfaces. Of course, you can use standalone application for this purpose, but also here you'll need to develop all the backends in order to connect Java with another language, with another presentation framework. With the cloud, as we observed in the example, it is much simpler. You just need to take JavaScript API and start using it without thinking all other complex backend things. Okay, that's all about the cases, and I realized that I forgot to show how we can share the models in the cloud, so let me fix my mistake. So let's go back to the cloud. I'm logged off because my session is over, so I will log in again. And I'll open the model I've uploaded, my consumer credit model here. And if I open my main model page, I will see the following tabs. On the sharing tab, I can share the model with others, and it is very similar how you share Google Docs or other web-based documents. Here you're specified as a model developer. This is the account of our AnyLogic support team. This is why you see here support team name. And I am the only model developer right now. There are two access levels, developer and user. Developers have complete control over the model in the cloud, so they can upload new versions of the model from AnyLogic IDE. They can manage the model versions, they can remove the model versions, they can even remove the entire model, and of course they can invite new developers. In case if you want to grant access to your colleague which will only run experiments and edit the experiment dashboard settings, then you need to invite him as a user. So here you can specify his address and he will be invited. In case if user doesn't have an account in the cloud, it will be automatically invited. Of course, that's not convenient in case if you need to invite 30 users or more. For instance, you are a teacher, professor, you have a class and you want to share your model with the entire class, but not with the entire world. In this case, it is convenient to open access through direct link. In this case, you will see the following link which can be copied and you can send it to your class. No one will be able to find the model through web search. No one will be able to find it in the list of public models, but everyone who knows the link will be able to access the model. And finally, if you want to publish your model, in this case, you can press this button. You need to choose the category where the model will exist. This is business processes for our consumer credit model. And optionally, but highly recommended, it is required to select application area. And you may specify simulation methods. So that's usually interesting for people who research simulation modeling methodology and other academic topics. Okay, and now my model is published. Optionally, I can allow downloading sources of the latest model version. For instance, if you want to share model sources with your class or with everyone in the world, that's convenient that you should enable this option. In case if you don't want to share the model sources because you are a consultant and you want to deliver the model to worldwide to show how good you are in AnyLogic, you want to share your expertise and experience, you may allow running the models but without downloading the sources. In this case, this checkbox should be disabled. And of course, you can unpublish the model by pressing this button. Okay, great. We have about 5 minutes left, and I want to highlight the real case study with the cloud, not some practical examples, but a real case how users benefit from using cloud and its API. So for this purpose, I will use the drive-through vaccination example model. Oh, sorry, not example model, the user model. This model was developed by Dr. Ali Asghari from York University in Canada. And this is a simulation model of vaccination station. So you arrive at car on the station, get the vaccine, then wait for half of an hour just in case. If any side effects of the vaccine appear, you get the respective assistance. If you're okay, you just leave the station. And of course, such stations, they have a lot of different input parameters, tons of them. And the model uses AnyLogic raw traffic library, which is a rather heavy one. So here on the right side, you see the model parameters. I will use default ones and press run button, and we'll see the model. So the model execution takes a lot of time because it uses raw traffic library, which has embedded close to physical level engine, which manages collision avoidance, makes sure that cars doesn't intersect, and so on. And the purpose of the model is to generate a lot of data for making decisions about parameters of real stations. And of course, it's not convenient to wait till the model is completed, especially in case if you want to test a lot of different configurations. There are tens of model parameters, and if we combine all of them, there are billions and billions and billions of possible model outputs. So what did Mr. Ali did? He uploaded the model to the cloud and run it a lot of times with JavaScript API. Yeah, here we have cars which are arriving on the station. So the results of the runs performed through API were collected in the database, which were consumed by a learning agent, which approximated, the correct term is approximated the results. So Mr. Ali ran about hundreds of thousands of model runs through API, and learning agent consumed all these runs and approximated the data on all other possible combinations not included in this 100,000 of runs. And in this way, after the agent is trained, now you can ask the learning agent to say what is output for the respective model input. And the agent will say you the result in a couple of seconds, not in hour or something like that. This time you need to execute the model. So let's now close the animation and go to the website provided by Mr. Ali. This here. Here is our model tile, and I can press continue button here. We have the same parameters here, I can control them, I can change them, and they are sent to this AI agent after I press submit button. And as you can see, it instantly visualizes the key statistics, how many cars passed through the station, what is the wait time histogram, and so on. So here the Cloud API, namely JavaScript API, was used to train such AI agent using the data generated by model runs from AnyLogic Cloud. So let's go to the final slides and summarize the cloud family of AnyLogic Cloud products. So firstly, we have software as a service solution, which is free for everyone at cloud.anylogic.com, and it provides API and extended functionality for subscribers. And also we have the standalone on-premise products, namely Private Cloud Lite, Private Cloud Pro, and Private Cloud Enterprise. They provide the same functionality as a software as a service solution, considering it is on-premise installation. And in addition, it provides enterprise features such as scalable server-based execution environment, clustering, and custom branding. Okay, that's all the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And here on the screen, you can see helpful QR codes. The first QR code is a link to registration at AnyLogic Conference 2021 in September, where we will present AnyLogic 9, and also our users and commercial academic clients will present their cool case studies. There are a lot of submissions. We choose them carefully, and the best of them get at our conference. The second QR code leads to cloud.anylogic.com. You can start running the model there right now in parallel to listening Q&A session. And the third QR code leads to the datasheet and description of the AnyLogic Cloud features, both public and private cloud. Thank you for the attention, and I'm glad to answer your questions.